can appreciate what was happening there. We always have students who are always thinking of blowing something up. So I thought this is actually another example of something that you can do at the start of a lesson, a little fun thing to begin off. Students always enjoy those sorts of things with Mr. Bean particularly. This evening, we are very lucky to have with us a presenter that I'll introduce in a minute. But I was just going to say, our webinars are getting quite bigger and bigger. And tonight we are actually lucky to have people join us from all around Fiji. We have people from, obviously, from BT level. We have people from Lambasa. We have people from Taveuni. The other good thing is we are having more and more people from the little islands, the remote islands. We have people from, someone from Didhia. We have someone from Dikombia and Ratuma. It's very pleasing to have a forum where for the first time we can get people from different parts of Fiji coming together on a platform to share ideas, to learn from each other, and take the full advantage of the My Teachers Fiji platform and the resources and the webinars that we are offering. Before I begin, I'd like to introduce to you Manasa Naeqe. Manasa is going to do a short presentation about what his experience has been like teaching in these remote conditions, teaching from home. He will share with us how he has been coping, teaching biology and chemistry. Manasa actually is from Boa, so he will explain a bit more about his background and the school and things that he has been doing. So I will stop sharing my screen and I will ask if Manasa, if you wanna go on.
Okay, everyone, and I hope all of us, despite the COVID-19, and I hope everyone is doing well. Okay, to introduce myself, my name is Manasa, and I'm from Vanuatu, from the KT. Some of you might know where I come from, but actually I'm teaching in Boa College. Boa College near Nambowalu, and most of us know that we have a positive case in Nambowalu currently. So this makes a bit more difficult for us in Boa. So to start off my presentation tonight, first of all, I'll try to give an overview on what other topics that I'll be discussing tonight. First one is I'll discuss on some of the challenges that I face teaching in a rural and remote school, the teaching strategies that I use, and some positive experiences during this COVID-19. Okay, first of all, I'll start with the challenges. The first challenge that I really face during the COVID-19 is availability of resources. As we all know, if you are teaching in a rural school, you will all know most of the students they don't have gadgets like phone. So this is really a struggle for me to get my student and talk to them so that they can have a phone. Some of them usually use their parents' phone. The next one is no internet connection. As we all know, not all part of Fiji with the internet available, but only only some area where we can go and have the internet. Third one is no data. As you know, some of the students are really live in the interior and access to the shop is a bit hard. Next one is some students, they don't have a textbook and books at all. This is due to some reason, like we all know this year we suffer two tropical cyclones. So some of them lost textbooks and some of them don't even have a textbook given from school because uh, in our school, most of the textbooks were destroyed by the cyclone. So majority of the students, they don't have textbook. And lab practical, this is a great and the biggest challenge that we ever faced in Bua during this lockdown, because we all know as a science teacher or as a scientist, we all know lab practical is the most important part of our life, even in our curriculum, because this is where we apply the knowledge that we have. So lab practical in Boa, it's a very big challenge for me. Lucky last year, we were able to have labs after during the term 3. We were lucky we have given um, couple time to do our lab. So last year I was able to finish my lab. So this year, we don't know the time when will be the school open. So we are so thankful for these webinar that will enlighten us on how to do lab practical online. Second challenge that I face in Boa is the availability of students. Most of the students they are not available during Zoom classes. This is due to several reasons such as personal commitments, family commitments. Some students are bored, um, distraction from, in the village there's a lot of peers and a lot of, songo. So distraction is there. The challenge that I face is weather condition. As we all know, during a rainy day, a student cannot access internet due to reasons such as the low reception of network. Student cannot go to their internet hotspots where they usually go to access internet. No electricity to provide them with power, since majority of them have solar power. So during a rainy day, they'll they'll have no power at all. And the last challenge that we usually face in school during this COVID-19 is the pick and drop of worksheet. This is due to unfavorable weather condition. Sometimes when there is rain, flooding, we are not able to drop and pick the students' worksheet, so we have to delay it. It causes a major delay, especially when we do our marking for our worksheet. The next one is the vehicle breakdown. We are lucky in Bua College that we have a school bus provided by the government, but sometimes, in rural areas, not all roads are tassil. Some have gravel, some they don't even have gravel. So we expect a vehicle breakdown. Another challenge is some student lives in the small islands. Some of the islands live beside Bua, where some student came from, like Yandua Island. Some of the students are schooling in Bua College. They are from small islands such as Yandua, and some are live in the interior of Bua. So that is another challenge of pick and drop of worksheet, because these students are mostly depend on the Turangani Koro or the village headman for their worksheet to be given to them. So sometimes the Turangani Koro delay the time for pickup and for the drop of worksheet. Okay, some of the teaching strategies that I use to overcome some of the challenges is providing the student home learning resources for 2 to 3 weeks rather than weekly. So I prepare my student home learning resources for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and submit it, because I have I have to make sure that my learning resources reach them. And second point is consultation with the student on when they can available during Zoom. Uh, because some of the students, they are not always available during the day, and we can tell them, okay, you have to come at this time, you have to be available at this time. So the best way you can sort that out is through consultation with your student. So for me, like for the previous week, when we are setting up a timetable for Zoom, uh, I consult the student on when they can have Zoom. So they told me, most of the students told me they don't have gadgets, only their parents have gadgets. So what they request is that we can have the Zoom class at night around 7 to 8, because at that time their parents will be at home, so they will be able to access the internet. So by that time we are able to have Zoom. Um, Next one is lesson notes are given in advance before Zoom. Sometimes I usually prepare the lesson notes like a month, lesson notes for 1 month, because we don't know what some of the circumstances and some of the things that we can come across that can delay the deliver of the lesson notes, and these can be a major cause of delay in teaching the notes or from teaching. Next one is providing a worksheet solution. It is a must that as a teacher, we should provide them with a solution. Even though we go and mark and comments on their worksheet, but the best way is providing them with solutions so that they have a fair idea how teachers are solving the question. And internet link and useful resources, like for last year, uh, in 2020, during COVID-19, sometimes we don't have the equipment and chemicals at school. So what I usually do, I set the lab topics on YouTube or some of the relevant web link, and I'm able to extract that information, the link, and then I give it to my student to watch it. Another one is Zoom recording classes made available to them through Google Drive sharing. Thanks to myteacherfiji.com webinar that teaches us a lot on how to operate with Zoom, on how to use Zoom, record the classes, how to use some of the features of Zoom. I was very thankful that we have this webinar, because it really enlightened my knowledge on Zoom, and I really can share a lot with my student. It is like me and my student are just in the same class. And I'm so thankful to the webinar provided by the myteacherfiji.com. And another one is providing contact for consultation when students are in need for help. This is the most important part. If you are providing your worksheet, please, I recommend that you have your contact in the worksheet, because sometimes when students stuck in their schoolwork or they don't know anything, they can call you and consult you on the worksheet or on whatever they find it difficult. Some of my positive experiences that I experienced during this lockdown is how to be creative. I know most of the students, you know, they are from the rural and sometimes they get bored easily. So when you are very creative, you will attract their attention. And I was very surprised in from last week up till this week when I have classes. Like before I start up my Zoom, I've already seen that a student are messaging me on Messenger. They ask me, "Sir, what time will our class start?" I can see that they are interested in Zoom classes. So I was very happy about that, because Zoom give us a creative way to teach. It also teaches me to be independent because most of the time we always rely on the resources at school, and we always rely on our head of school for resources. But during this COVID-19, we have to stay home, and whatever resources we have at home, or you have to be independent in doing your work at home. Another one is be organized. Um, yes, we have to be organized because we never know what time disaster can strike us. So being organized will prepare you. Uh, Being organized will prepare you for teaching. Next one is strengthen teamwork and communications. I can see during this lockdown, I can see that there is team bonding and working together between teachers in school and the students. Like we work together in order for our students get the type of education uh, they need to have. Uh, Thank you for listening. I think that's all from me, and have a blessed night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manasa. That was absolutely incredible. Can you imagine? Manasa is sharing with us his experience from Bua. Bua, some of you might know, is I think in the southern part of Vanuatu, southwestern part of southern Vanuatu, and it is just just so interesting to just listen to him. The kind of challenges he's talked about, challenges now, challenges in terms of resources, challenges in terms of internet data, um, and those challenges, can I just say, is something we all share. Um, it's uh, it's these are challenges that are not just only specific to where Manasa is located, but throughout Fiji, I would say. Can I also say some of these challenges are not just just unique to Fiji. Some of these challenges we have here as well. In Melbourne, we had at the beginning, we have every now and then we do have challenges of internet. Um, Manasa has talked about science and doing practical work. I'll come to that in a minute. But what was fascinating to listen to was not just the fact that it's all difficulties and all the hard times that we're all going through. What was fascinating to watch and listen to Manasa was the fact that out of this, he also had a lot of positive experience. We are here, and I'm sure you all agree with me, we can't solve every single problem that we all go through. We have no way we can solve the Fiji's internet infrastructure or the data problems. We can't solve every single problem that's there. But what is fascinating to listen was the positive things that comes out of this. There's a saying that out of every adversity comes opportunities. And good on you, Manasa, for taking up some of these opportunities. It was just fascinating listening how some of the ways you have tried to deal with the challenges that's facing you and your students in that remote area of Fiji. And I hope you might have given listeners some ideas of what they could try rather than, you know, organizing just a worksheet for a day or two. You you're super organized according to the way you manage your work. You record Zoom lessons. Um, you prepare worksheets in advance. So, as I said, like your experience, I'm sure will help others that are listening to us tonight here as well. So thank you again for that, Manasa. And at the end of this presentation, if we all stay back, maybe if you want to ask Manasa some questions, maybe you might want to offer some suggestions that might be very, very useful, helpful, and we can all share and learn from each other's experience. So thank you, Manasa, again for that.
Thank you for having me, sir. Naka.
Okay. Um, you could turn your video off only so that you can just reduce your data use and bandwidth, Manasa.
Pardon, sir?
I said you could turn your video off so that you don't use your data as much in after this.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No worries, thank you. And as I said, we can ask and have a discussion at the end about Manasa's experience, and you might be able to offer some suggestions to him or take some things away from his experience. Now, I would like to note this session, this webinar, we have designed to give some ideas, some practical ways in which we can face the challenges of teaching science when we're teaching from home. As you all can appreciate, and as Manasa also said, one of the biggest challenges for us science teachers is doing experiments and practical work. Practical work is an integral part of the science pedagogy, the way we teach science. We use practical work for investigations. We use practical work for demonstrations. We use practical work for inquiry learning. And I note in our audience, you listeners, there's quite a lot of you from teaching science teachers out there, but there are also non-science teachers, and you're more than welcome to have a look and see how we can try to overcome this problem of teaching practicals online. So most welcome. I hope that I can provide you with some strategies. Last year in Melbourne, we were in lockdown. That's the terminology we use here, for about 3 months. And we did teaching from home for 3 months. And again, some of the issues that you go through were the very same issues that we went through here as well, which is teaching of science, teaching the practical component of the science curriculum. Of course, there are other areas as well that have the same issues. I mean, if you're teaching PE, for example, or music, I mean, technology, or anywhere where there's, students have to do some project work. I mean, they're all affected. But tonight is specifically looking at what ways we can try to teach biology, physics, and chemistry. Now, if I can share my screen. Can you all see? Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, so let me start off with a couple of things to show you what we have done last year and some of the things that out of this lockdown teaching in remote from home, some of these things that can actually be used under normal teaching circumstances. Now, what I have done is I have collated a number of different simulators, virtual experiments, and I have collated it all for you in a very convenient way to locate this. Now, I sent out an email this morning requesting that if you were going to join us, that if you use your laptop rather than phones, any mobile devices, because what I'm going to show you in a moment, tonight is a bit of a hands-on. You're actually going to be trying out a couple of things. So some of these things work better with laptops, especially because the simulations and virtual practicals, they run on Java, and I don't think a lot of mobile devices tend to support those sort of things. So if you have a laptop nearby, you want to just grab that and log in through your laptop rather than using your phone, because you'll be a bit limited in terms of some of the things I'm going to show you in a minute. What I was saying is I have collated a lot of these resources into the website, so you don't have to go looking for these things. All you got to do is, and the second thing I'd asked you was if you could, you know, have signed up to this website, to the My Teachers Fiji, and it will make it easier for you to try a couple of things that I'm going to show you in a minute. Now, so this is the homepage. You can access your subjects from this drop-down menu, or you can go down here and you can see different subjects. Now, I'm going to start off with biology. What are some of the things we can do with biology? So if you click on biology here, there you go. There you go, biology. Now, it will take you to a biology page. Now, as you can see, we have organized this under the year levels, then you got planners, worksheets, all those things. But on the side here, on this side here, you've got video resources, something that you might find useful here. This is taking you to our channel on YouTube, supplementary textbook. But this one here is what I want to really focus on. It says biology simulations. Please don't write anything. This is getting recorded. We will put this webinar up on our website. But more importantly, I am going to stop after I've shown you a couple of things so that you could try out this while we are on this session. So if you click on this biology simulations, don't do this yet, just watch first. This will take you, it says here, biology, virtual practicals and simulations. Now, I have got a couple of links here for you. Now, let's see what we can do. The first link here that I've put on is known as a Java Lab. So let's go and have a explore what can we do in this. Okay. The Java Lab is one of the platform where we can do some simulations, some practicals. What I'm doing now with you through Zoom, you could do exactly the same thing. If you're teaching through Zoom, if your students are logged into Zoom, you could do what I'm doing right now with you. Now, of course, there are other subjects as well. Let's just focus on biology for the moment. Now, there are a number of simulations, a number of practicals that you could use in your teaching. Now, let me click on meiosis. Meiosis, as a biology teachers would know, it's a type of cell division where you end up with a haploid number of chromosomes. So let's have a look at how you can actually use this here, a simulation to show meiosis. Now, as you can see, in this, you've got some models of chromosomes. And here's the little function that you can play with. Now, this, if I grab this with my mouse and if I click it slowly across, now you can see the different phases of meiosis. You can see different phases of the cell division process, your anaphase, your telophase, your metaphase, and you can see now meiosis, as we know, happens in the gametes. You end up with 4 daughter cells and keep going. And you can, as you're doing this, you could explain to the kids what are happening. You could even make worksheets out of this, and they can answer some questions based on that. So there's a little simulation to show the meiosis process. All right. Now, if I go back, there's so many of these you can have a play with. Um, so that's meiosis. The next one here, I'll just, I won't go through every one of them. I'll just select a couple. Plant respiration. Now, respiration, as we know, is the process opposite to photosynthesis. This is a plant during the day, with the sun out. During the day, plants absorb carbon dioxide and they give out oxygen. At the same time, they carry out respiration. Now, we can change this. There's a slider that shows you it's day at the moment. Now, what happens at night? At night, when the sun's gone, photosynthesis stops and it's all respiration. And you could explain this in terms of the exchange of gas, the gas exchange takes place. You could change a plant to an animal or human. As you know, humans, animals don't carry out photosynthesis. So during the day, they just carry out respiration, and at night, respiration. So I have, as I said, in this particular Java lab, there are a number of these types of different things that you will have to play around. Obviously, I haven't had a play around with every single one of them. This is something that you come on this website and then have a play around with it. I'll just click this one, see what this is about. It's about your function of the eye. Now, one of the things you'll have to put up with is all these little ads that keep coming up because it's all free. So that's something that you will have to just put up with. Now, this is your structure of your eye. As you can see, this is the lens. This here is the cross section of the eye, and this is the frontal view of your eye. There's your pupil. Now, in here, there is a sphincter muscle. If I drag this, you can see what happens. The sphincter muscles controls the size of the pupil, which in turn affects the amount of light that enters. And here's a little crack that you can show your kids if this is the topic that you're studying. All right, there's how the sphincter muscle controls the size of the pupil. At the same time, you have the ciliary muscle. The ciliary muscle's on the side. As you know, ciliary muscle controls the size of the lens. This is something that the physics teachers can also make note of. If you are teaching light, refraction of light, as you know, light goes through a lens. It forms either real image or virtual image. You can use this simulator here to teach biology and physics. And you can show if the length of the lens changes. Now, what happens? Well, it's not that obvious now, but what if I get rid of this eye? And this is a bit more of a physics thing. If I instead click this here, light path. So there's your light going in. And if we, using the ciliary muscle, so there's your ciliary muscles there. If you contract, and you can see how that changes the position. So by changing the focal length of the lenses, you are able to affect where your light actually falls, the image that falls on your retina. So there's something on the eye that you can have a play around with. What else is there? Yeah, if you are doing something in your biology about DNA, there's your electrophoresis. You can do this particular experiment here with them. There's also the cell model. Now I showed you meiosis, but this is showing you the chromosomes. If you look at the onion cell, onion root under the microscope. You can see all those things there. Um, I'm not sure the validity of this one. It says heart pulse detector. Um, so it says, place your finger on the camera and make the entire camera screen red. This application uses the phenomenon that the color of the finger changes periodically according to the blood flow. So at the moment, it's telling me that my heart rate is 0 a minute. I'm not dead yet. But what it's saying is if you put, where is it? There was somewhere I had to click on start. No, I don't know. I had a play with this yesterday. It was working. Probably it's a bit of a lag in my internet or something. So anyway, the point is you can have a play around with this with your students if you're teaching about heart rate, if you're teaching about heart, and all those sort of things. There was one I saw, here you go. If you're talking about, if you're teaching about the structure of the ears, let's have a look. If I share this, no, I don't want that. Share sound, yep. Okay, this is the structure of the ear. As you know, this is your outer ear, the pinna, the ear canal. There's your eardrum, and there are your 3 bones, and right inside is your cochlea. Now, what it is showing you is the different parts of your ear that detects particular type of sound. For example, if you are getting 20 hertz frequency, hertz, as you would know, is measuring frequency. If you're getting 20 hertz of sound, that sound at that particular frequency is detected right inside your cochlea at this point. And then let's change the sound and see what happens. So if, as you can see, you can vary the frequency of the sound, and it tells you, this simulator tells you which part of your ear detects what frequency. That's probably gone out of the range. So that's probably the frequency at which, you know, animals hear, like dogs hear frequency. They can hear frequency much higher than we humans can. So we can't hear it right now, but and if you have some naughty students, they're like, okay, what else have we got on Java? Yep, as I said, there's so many of them. You'll have to go around and play around with some of these. Most of these, if I just go back onto this, you know, it will tell you here, just read the instructions here. It will explain to you what the simulator is going to do. It has a little blurb at the bottom to explain what this simulator is trying to teach you. So have a read through that. Blood type, I thought this was an interesting one. There you go. I think it was a bit of a lag in my internet when I was trying to play the blood heart rate. So if you have a parent with offspring, what sort of genotypes and phenotypes they will get? If the mother has AO and the father has blood group BO, what kind of offsprings they'll get. So those of you who do biology, you might remember, you'll recall, obviously, this is the Punnett square. So let's grab this one along and see what happens to the genes. As you know, the gametes will separate, and there's your different blood groups of the offspring. And then, of course, you can talk about what percentage is going to be O, A, B, A, O, and so forth. And you can have a discussion about genotypes and phenotypes. The mother is there. At the moment, she's got AO. I can change the blood group. She's now O. And if the father, let's make him AO, now what happens? So you can see the Punnett square will work it out for you. So the phenotype is all A, but the genotype is AO, because as you know, A is the more dominant, and you can have a discussion about that as well. So the phenotype stands out as A, but the genotype is there in the brackets. Now, remember, this is just one lab only. What I mean by that is, I'm still on the biology page, virtual pracs and simulations. That was only the Java lab. So I have a feeling that I'll have to go back and fix these two here. There's a bit of a problem with that link. But let's look at a second sort of interactives and practicals that you can do in biology classes. Just waiting for it to load. There you go. Now, I will strongly recommend that you do take some time out to go through this particular interactive, because this is very, very powerful. Now, this is an interactive based on the UK curriculum, but most of it is still relevant for us. Now, you can look up the your topics. So you can either search in here, you can put digestive. This was me playing around last night. So you can look up what topics you can have some experiments on. There's anatomy and physiology. There's 41 different activities. Science practicals, practices 39, evolution, genetics, microbiology and ecology, environmental cell biology. Now, those are the different topics. Then you can select, okay, if you want to, let's say, do genetics, and then you can come here and select, then you can come down here and select, okay, in genetics, what type of resource am I looking for? Am I looking for an experiment, a virtual lab? Or do I just want to show a video on this? Or do I just want to do a click and learn? Click and learn will be things like a quiz. You can log on to this, and then you can, drag and drop answers. There will be questions. You can drag and drop answers within a quiz. I'm not sure. I haven't played around with this. I don't really know what it is. So this here. So on genetics, virtual lab, you can, as I said, you can do all kinds of filters for this, and it comes up with two labs that I can have a look at. One comes up with a bacterial identification. Now there's hundreds of these types of practicals in here that you can play around with, and you'll have to do your own a bit of finding out what else is there. Let's say cardiology virtual lab. Let's go and have a look at what's happening here. Now, again, if you're not sure what this prac is about, there is a description. Every one of these will have a description. It says, this interactive, a modular lab explores the tools that doctors use to examine and diagnose patients with heart conditions. So you're not just only teaching theory, but you're actually showing them actual practical, what happens in an actual medical doctor's, surgery or in the actual hospital, what are the processes that they will go through? And I'll show this in a minute. It says, in this lab, students collect and interpret data using various tools and tests for detecting heart conditions. The lab includes examples of medical exams involving whatever the word is, auscultation, using a stethoscope, and an ECG, an MRI scan, pedigree chart. So let's have a look. Let's play. So you will come across this virtual lab. Then it says launch interactive. You're not sure what it is, go and read here the description, then launch an interactive, see what happens. So you're actually giving an actual experience to the student. You're giving a real experience of what a cardiologist might be doing as part of his or her work. It says, now again, you can read all these things. What are some of the learning objectives? And it tells you how to use this here. Oh, in your own time, you can have a read. But let's just go and have a read and go. The reason why it's important to read this, then you can think, okay, this is what it's trying to tell me. How can I use this particular lab as part of my instructions to the students? Can I make an activity out of it? Can I make an actual experiment out of it? So let's go and have a look. It says enter the lab. All right, it says, welcome back. Our record showed that, yes, I was doing this last night. Start over. Okay. It says, welcome to the Howard Hughes Medical Institute's cardiology lab. To assist the doctor with a patient, click on the door to the exam. So there's your exam room. So there's a doctor's suite. Let's go. Okay. And you will find that to proceed any further, it will ask you a couple of questions. And this is something good for your students to actually do. Question number one, when a doctor uses a stethoscope, what is being measured? I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to just blindly answer some questions here. It's question two, I don't know, let's say the answer there was A. Question three, what is a murmur? I'll just put C. But you can have a solid discussion with your students about these type of questions. You can even skip the quiz. Let's say submit the quiz. So I got one right. Answer was B. I got two wrongs. And it tells me what my incorrect answer was. And it tells me, explains to me what I did wrong and why that answer was wrong. So I'm done. Okay. So now it says, we will perform a preliminary stethoscopic exam to listen to the patient's heart. Click on the patient, click the patient to continue. So there's a patient. As you can see, your mouse is an arrow, but turns into the hand, which means you can now click on this. So the first step in determining the condition is listening to the stethoscope. I'm sure there was a sound somewhere ahead. There you go. Sound. Okay. Is that what you see? Let me just try do a new share. Can you see now? Oh, okay. All right. I'm not sure why you can't see this, so anyway, in a moment, I'm gonna stop and you guys can have a plumber and play with this. I can actually hear the sound of the stethoscope there. All right, you get the idea. So I'll close this one there, leave. So that's your bio interactive. So again, there's lots of, I'll close this. There's lots of little uh, um, links that you can do. So I've showed you bio Java Lab, I showed you bio interactive, human body maps. If you're teaching about body systems, again, you will have interactives and practicals that you can do in circulatory system, respiratory system, digestive system. Let's just click on digestive system. Okay, now you can, oops, that's not what I wanted. This the You can see I actually by accident clicked on one of the ads here, so it'll take you to another place. Unfortunately, that's something we just have to deal with because it's all free that we're using. Now, this is the body systems. I ended up with circulatory system. Um, so there's your respiratory system. Um, there's your digestive system. Now let's just stay with digestive system. What you can also do in your discussion with your students, if you look at this, you can grab up and down this one here, this layer. It will actually remove the layers. So right now you have a full person. Now you can peel the layers off, and then you can look at different sections of it. Now you can even zoom in. So let's say, oops, and you can turn this around and have a three-dimensional look at the human body's digestive system. All right, so there's your stomach, your liver. You can turn around and have a look at this. You can even go back a bit, turn it around, and you can peel the layers off. You can see there's your brain there. So again, there's lots of different things that you can do in this particular um, in that particular here. This was the human body systems, human body maps. Now, another interactive that you can find there is learn genetics. There are topics in genetics, basic genetics, genetic science, pigeon breeding, and that I haven't had a look at it. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of things in here, and you know, maybe once you guys have had a play, you can actually discuss amongst yourself, or even use on our website. We've actually got a chat function there as well. You could actually leave some. If you've tried something, let's say, oh, I went and tried the Learn Genetics website, the simulator, and in that the basic genetics is good. I found something on stem cells. Cloning wasn't all that good, so have a play around with it. Um, you know, so plants, lots of things about plants, ecology, science tools. There's some virtual labs, practicals that you can do. Neuroscience, basic neuroscience. I haven't played with it, but let's quickly have a look. In this neuroscience, and this is how it will come up with. So if I clicked on, you can see, let's go back. Any one of these things that you click on, basic neuroscience, it takes you here. Now, in neuroscience, do you want, if you have a look here, it says learn more. So that will be theoretical notes in there. Do you want to play some interactive, explore some interactive, just like we were doing before? Do you want to maybe cross a divide, see how the neurons talk to each other in this animated tutorial? Brain imaging, you know, MRI scan. You want to, you know, so you can do so many things with this. Let's have a look at this interactive neuron.
Finally you have arrived to assist me in the experiment. My giant monster neural pathway will be my crowning achievement. They laughed at my ideas, but now I, Dr. Dendenstream, will be the envy of mad scientists everywhere. And you will take your first steps to becoming a mad scientist yourself one day. Come into my laboratory and let's get started.
Okay, I'll stop there. And you can see there's so many things you can do, literally so many. Within each one, there are different topics, and within the topics, you can do interactives, you can do practicals, you can do simulators, you can do notes, quizzes, genetic disorders. You know, there's just literally so many of these here. Molecular workbench. As I said, I have a feeling there's some problems with this. I'll have to have a look. But once it starts working, there's so many different things there you can have a play around with. I think this is what I was saying. This takes you to the same place. I just need to fix it. I'll skip the fact for a moment for a reason. I'll come back to this science bank. Again, I think this is a UK-based exploration. The website is, but I'm not so sure. I haven't had a. Oh, that's right. This tells you about dissections. You know, biology. Obviously, the dissection is a big, exciting part of it. You can choose one of these and show a bit of a dissection. So I think there was one. I found another website that does have dissections to it. I think this is actually where you buy stuff. So I'll have to I'll probably just look at some of these and take rid of it. I thought there was Science Bank you can actually do this. But anyway, as you can see, all these four, and this one here is my absolute favorite, PhET simulations. I will come to PhET a bit later on because the PhET PH, this is actually a free open source virtual prac that is designed and set up for free for every teacher around the world by the University of Colorado in US. I will show you that a bit later on because that actually has this PhET simulation has practicals in biology, chemistry, and physics. So let's just hold on to this. I'll come back to this in a minute. I'm gonna take a little pause here now. What I would like you guys to do is, if I copy this link, copy, and if I whack it in the chat, to everyone, paste. Could you? This is what I was saying. If you're on a laptop, will be good. If you're or a desk PC, have a go at this now. Click on this link. This will take you directly to biology. Now, assuming that you are all logged in. If you're not logged in, you'll have to log in. If you could click on that link and just go anywhere and have a play with it. I'll give you about 5 minutes. Have a look and play with this. And if anyone wants to share what they think, what they feel, these can I ask this question while you are clicking, and can you see yourself using this? Anyone? Manasa, since you were on there before, what do you think, Mike? Is this something that you could possibly use with your students?
Okay, so when I access to the link,
Yep.
I go right to chemistry
Now,
and
biology.
oh, oh biology. Okay,
So if you click on this link that I just put up there, it should take you to this page, the biology page.
okay, so I'm on biology page right now.
Uh-huh. Does it work? So if you click on, let's say, Java Lab,
Hmm.
what's the experience of other people? You could, if you don't want to turn your microphone on, just put something in the chat. So, you know, as you would know, teaching and talking to a camera it has its own challenges. I don't know what people are doing there. So if you want to give me some sort of a feedback, how you are finding this, is this something that you can use? Is it working? Yep, someone, Farazina said it works. Can you see yourself using some of these? While you're having a go at this, um, could I please ask if you could all fill in the attendance for tonight? If you could all please do that, that will be good, so that we have a record of who's attended and helps us to send out your certificates. Biology is not um, my teaching area. I teach more chemistry and physics. So I do urge you all to have a play around with the different websites. My favorite one is the FAT simulator that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But there's, as I said, there's literally hundreds of those practicals that you can play around with, use it with your students, share it on Zoom, and let your students um, experience it themselves. You can set certain tasks. One of the things, when we do give out these types of activities, when you do give out these sort of activities, try to have a set of directions for the students. By that I mean, when you are, if you are going to give that link, if you are going to get your students to do it themselves, make sure you have a set of instructions, your learning outcomes. What do you want to get out of that particular activity? If you just let them loose, as I was showing before, they'll just go in, and there's nothing wrong. Let them go and have a play. do, as I was showing you that the year one, they can have a play around and be funny and silly with all the sound, and that's okay. I think let's let them explore, but just make sure that you do have a learning outcome. What is it that you want to get out of this for your students? All right. Okay, now if you want to come back, and I'll show you what we can do with chemistry. So if I stop sharing and then I share a new screen. Okay, just please, if you could fill in this attendance for tonight, it's webinar number 5, science practicals, that will be good. Now, go back to the home page. Let me just get a clarification. All right, so we go on the home page, click on chemistry now. And you can see, I'm not sure what's going on there. Click on chemistry here. There you go. Look at chemistry. Same thing, same way chemistry is organized. Year 11, year 12, year 13, planners, all those things. But what I want you to see is this side here, home, video resource, supplement, chemistry simulations. And if I click on the chemistry, again, as I said, you don't have to go anywhere else. Just come on to this My Teachers Fiji chemistry page, and it's all there for you. It's all been collated. It's all there for you. Now, you can see in chemistry, again, I've got quite a few of these different places to do practicals. Now, let me go to the Java lab. Now, in the Java lab, right on the top here, it says chemistry. I showed you the biology one before. Let's go to the chemistry one. Now, again, you can see lots of different experiments that you can do in chemistry. Let me just have a quick look at this. All right. Maybe I'll click on this one here, precipitation reaction. It says precipitation reaction is a type of reaction when two solutions react. Now there's your solubility table. We can work out what's soluble, what's insoluble, where the precipitate will form. It even tells you the color of the different precipitates. But this is what I was wanting. I think just a bit slow. Oh, let's try. If I have, no, I think it's still loading. Run. No. Chemical simulation reactions. Let me try another one. It could be it takes a while for some of these simulations to load, because I played around with this yesterday. It was working. It should work. It should work. It should work. Anyway, I'll come back to this. It's probably still loading. Anyway, So there are lots of different precs that you can do with this as well in chemistry. And again, this is, you know, Le Chatelier's principle. That's about the equilibrium, reaction rates. Just not sure why it's doing this. Let's have a look at this here. Reaction rates. There you go. You can show them when two reactants start a chemical reaction. This is the concentration over time. You can see that you can explain this is the concentration of the reactants. This is the concentration of the products. At some point when the concentrations become equal, that's when your reaction kind of stops. Or at least they reached into equilibrium, depending on the type of reaction it is. So this is Java Lab. The chemical change of a candle, chemical phase of ammonia, reaction rate. It's this is one of the issues that we do face. It just takes a while for it to load. Anyway, so you can see there are these different tracks you can have a play around with, and under each one, if you're not sure what it is, you can actually read the instructions underneath, and each one of them comes with instructions of what you can do. So that was the Java Lab. I quite like this one here. I mean, it's just the way it's set up. I mean, you might find some topics here. I think in the Java Lab, there was the gas laws, the Charles law, the Boyle's law. You'll find experiments that you can do there in Java Lab. Let's look at this one here, American Association of Chemistry. Now, if you're a chemistry teacher, you would recognize this. This is a galvanic cell. Now, all these different experiments, when it says simulations, they are experiments. You can actually do experiments. You can actually get students to collect data. Let's look at a galvanic cell. All right. Now, there's your instructions. Galvanic cell. Select different metals and aqueous solutions to build a galvanic cell that generates electricity, and observe the corresponding oxidation and reduction half. So again, if you're doing chemistry, you know the galvanic cell is part of your redox reactions. There's your oxidation half, there's a reduction half, you know, based on your electrovalency, not the reduction potentials. So what you can do, it says start. Before you start, have a little read of what you can do in this activity. It says in this activity, students will use a simulation to create a variety of, so you can make different types of galvanic cells with electrodes. They can even record the cell potential and all those things here. Students can identify the anodes, cathodes, as you know, your oil rig, oxidation is loss, reduction is gain. You can actually do all of those. The entire redox chemistry can be taught using just this one very simple simulator. So let's have a look. Here's your experimental setup. Let's move my thing here. Now you can see there's your salt bridge. Say on the left beaker, I choose silver nitrate. There you go. And I have your electrode going there straight away, silver nitrate. Most likely that's going to be silver. And in the right beaker, let's put zinc in zinc nitrate, right? So yep, it tells you you have silver in silver nitrate, silver in silver nitrate. So that's silver nitrate, and that's zinc in zinc nitrate. Now, those of you who are chemistry teachers here, you probably have quickly worked it out. Which way does the electrons flow based on your reduction and oxidation? Whichever side's getting oxidized, we will lose electrons, oxidation is loss, reduction is gain, oil rig, and the electrode there is connected to the other electrode here, and it can tell you the voltage. At the moment, reading 0 because it's not on yet. So switch it on. There you go. Now, this is a powerful experiment that you can do. You can actually bring out your reduction potentials, and you can. The way I would do it is I would get them to predict first, rather than, I mean, let them have a play first. You know, when they first see, students will be curious. They want to play with every little thing. They put this, you know, do that. What's going to happen? So let them have a play around. Let them lose for a little bit. They can't break the beaker. They can't do anything that's going to harm the computer or your equipment. So let them have a play. Once they've had a play, once your initial what's the word? The initial query had they settled down, then say, okay, now, you know, let's say if I put silver nitrate, silver in silver nitrate, and if I put copper in copper nitrate, you can get them to use the electrode potential, the reduction potential, your chart, and get them to work out the voltage of the cell themselves first, and then you can test whether it is 0.46 or not. So this is something you can actually do in a number of ways. You can do it as a demo, you can do it as an experiment where students can actually collect the data. So it's all up to you how you design this particular experiment. Now, you can actually see, it says here at the bottom, see at the molecular scale. So if I click on the molecular scale, it will show you what's really going on. So there's your ion exchange taking place. There's your electrons being lost, and you know, your reduction in oxidation is taking place. So that's a fascinating one. I would definitely suggest, if whenever you teach galvanic cell, whenever you teach redox reactions, this is one to definitely play around with. So that's that one. There's so many of these here. Let's say metals in aqueous solutions. This is about displacement reactions. You know, the more reactive metal will displace the less reactive one. And you can have, it says metals in aqueous solutions. Test several metals with different aqueous solutions. Select an activity to begin. So there's your activity 1. Let's try, say, activity 1. It says these beakers contain aqueous solutions labeled above. So you have magnesium nitrate, zinc nitrate, copper nitrate, silver nitrate. All right. So in these, we're going to put different metals. Continue. Okay. So let's put magnesium in every one of them. Now we know that magnesium is more reactive than copper and silver. So let's put magnesium nitrate in all of them. There you go. It's just about to be. And then, so it's all ready to be dipped in. So I've got all the solutions there. Magnesium ready to go in. Continue. There you go. Now, what's the result then? Well, if you click on the molecular scale, if you put magnesium in magnesium nitrate, nothing's going to happen. All right? Magnesium in magnesium nitrate, nothing's going to happen. What about if you have magnesium in zinc nitrate? Okay, there you go. Magnesium is more reactive, therefore it will displace the zinc, and magnesium will react in that way, leaving zinc as a precipitate on top. So there's a good experiment to do with your students. All right, so that's this one here. And there's so many other experiments that you can do with these. You know, you can do predicting solutions. For example, this is about all precipitates. Um, preparing solution. This starts off with a quiz. What's the size of this? You can answer this question there, submit. It will tell you if that's correct answer, and then you can do the simulations later on as well. So there's lots of chemistry. Now I only showed you Java and this. Can I very strongly recommend have a look at the Chem Collective. This is where you can actually do titrations. You can actually do virtual titrations on this. So if you look at acid-base chemistry, we know strong acid and a strong base. If you want to work out your concentration of an unknown, as you know, titration is about trying to work out the concentration of an unknown acid or a base. If it's an acid and a base, you can virtual lab, you can grab the different solutions. So you can put, so there's your workbench. This is where the students can do their titrations. What do we need? We need sodium hydroxide. We need an unknown acid. Don't know the concentration. Now, how are you going to do the titrations? If you're not sure, there is a little help, right? If you go on help, it will tell you there's a video to walk you through.
Welcome to the new Chem Collective Virtual Laboratory. This version is HTML5 based and will run on most devices. The Stockroom Explorer is shown on the left, with menus and the problem name in the upper panels. Clicking on the problem name displays information about this activity. In the Stockroom Explorer, use the tabs at the top to select between reagents, glassware, and tools. Clicking on a group expands or collapses the items inside. To bring an item out of the stockroom, single-click on it. This puts the item on the desktop, and information about the item
I've
appears
shown
in the
you all
Solution
those
Information
things,
panel.
and you can listen to
To
the whole
return to
thing.
additional information, such as the UV-vis spectrum and a list of the solid species in the vessel. To transfer a solution from one piece of glassware to another, drag the source flask onto the destination flask. Notice that the flasks are now connected and the transfer window is active.
Okay, so that was trying to show you how you can actually do the titrations in this particular space here itself. If you're not sure, there's a help button. It'll show you how to collect your chemicals, how to use your chemicals, how to pour the chemicals into the burette, and the pipette, and all those sort of things. So that is the Chem Collective. Now, again, you can explore all these things. There's an exploration series, there's a virtual lab. Nova Elements, I think this is a good one. If you're teaching about periodic table, we tend to teach about periodic table, I don't know, year 7, year 8, year 9. This is an exploration, an interactive of periodic table. I'm just mindful of time. I'm just going to hurry things up a little bit now. It's still loading. You can play a little game. You can watch the hunting game. You can get students to there, explore, I think it was. So you can actually make a task of us. You can call it a scavenger hunt. You could make up a list of properties. For example, an element that is so and so color. It has 4 valence electrons. Go and find what it is. So the students will have to come and learn something about it. Okay, the answer was carbon. So you can, they can just go and click on some of these interactive periodic table. So that's all there for chemistry. And I will come back to the fact in a minute. Okay. Now, likewise, if I go back to the home page, I might as well do physics now as well. If I go to the home page, and then go to physics, go to physics. Not be there, maybe I'll try here. There you go. Okay, so again, similar organization, but on the side here says physics simulations. Now, I've been to the Java lab. I'm not going to go through that again. In the Java lab, you have physics stuff in there. The exploration series, I think I went through that one. Virtual labs, I've shown you this. There's a physics classroom, which you can click on, and it will show you lots of different simulations. Say, for example, kinematics. If you look at kinematics, it will have an exercise where you can, I think it's just taking time to load. You can match the graph, launch concept builder. Again, if you're not sure, there are videos I just showed you before. There are teacher notes on this. Match the graph, so you can do all of these things there. Start and begin the apprentice level. Okay, the question there is consider the graph on the left, so this one here, match with the corresponding graph on the right. So this for the physics teachers, this is your position time graph, which is your displacement time graph, and then you have your velocity time graph here. So you got to match which one's which, tap on the graph, and you can do that sort of thing there. So lots of, if you look on the side here, lots of different topics that you can do. You know, all the mechanics stuff, the dynamics, the Newton's laws, momentum, electricity stuff. There's a bit of chemistry there as well. So that was the physics classroom. If you look at all physics simulations, this is actually something I've only recently discovered. If you look at the topics here again, in kinematics, there's so many topics that you can choose from. Forces, conservation of energy, momentum, waves, light, electricity stuff, rotational motion, fluids, you know, all those things. Let me just go, maybe very quickly show projectile motion. Now, so as you know, projectile motion is a two-dimensional motion. It you can it is launched at a particular angle. So at the moment there's 45 degrees, and what you can also do is to measure the range here. This can be easily set as an experiment to do. You can change the different variables and get some real proper data and get students to record it in the logbooks. So if you are going to launch, so there's your object here. It's actually placed on an X and Y axis. If you fire, there you go, there's a fire, which means you launch it. Now, what do you want to see? Do you want to see the position vectors? Do you want to see the velocity vectors, the components? You can change the initial speed of the, you can change the angles. I'll leave it at 45 degrees because, as you know, 45 degrees gives you the maximum range. You fire it up, there you go. Okay, so it keeps going, so you can stop it. Animation speed, you can play around with this. Do you want to change the angle? So if you launch it at that particular speed, you can even just collect the data from here. If your angle is 60 degrees, or let's say that angle there, you can actually measure your distance, your range. So again, you can do all these things here. Lots of different things to choose from. All right. Now, the one that I really left it to the last was the FET simulations, because this is one that I really use quite a lot. A lot of these other ones, they are just, I've only discovered them very, very recently. So I haven't had a chance to fully explore those. Like this one here, oh, physics. I actually discovered this only a few days ago. So I haven't quite fully explored this, but that seems to be quite a very good one to use. But FET is one that I really, really like. I like only because I've been using this quite a lot. Now, this is actually, as I said, it's a free open source simulator made by the University of Colorado. It's available for anyone in this world, any teachers around the world to actually use this. Now, remember, this was the one I said you've got biology stuff in there. When I was showing you biology, I said I'll leave this one. So this is what I'm going to show. There's chemistry. If there are maths teachers as well, I haven't used the maths simulations, but there's a maths apps there as well. Let's go to the physics one. Now, so look at all these simulations. In fact, I've used these ones to set it as a proper assessment task. There's a physics here, also all those topics there. Now, let's say I'm looking at physics. If I click on physics there, on physics, that's what it's going to give me, the same page. There, let's say I just want to look at motion. I'm just teaching about motion. So I remove all this. So there are all my motions. In fact, right now in Melbourne, we are all again in lockdown. 2 days ago, I gave my students this particular task to explore the idea of net force. Now, as you know, Newton's laws are actually one of the most difficult part of physics. Newton's laws, as you know, there are 3 laws of Newton's. First, second, third law. First law is about inertia. Second law is about net force. Third law is about action reaction. But it's actually one of the most hardest part to teach and hardest ones to understand. And I'm hoping in a few weeks' time, I'm actually going to have a webinar just teaching about what does the research say, how to teach Newton's laws. Now, let me click on this, forces and motion. Okay, so in forces and motion, you've got net force, but motion, friction. Okay, let me just go with the very basic one. There you go. Now, so you want to teach them about net force. We have a person here. There's a trolley. At the moment, this person here is about to pull to the left. If I let go, there you go. Now, let your students have a play with this. Let them have some fun out of this. But then you can get a bit serious. So return, and you can go, okay, now I'm going to put some values. There you go, values. So this person here is now pulling with a force of 150 newtons to the left, which means that the net force is 150 newtons. All right, so have a play around with it there. Okay, if you want to have a net force of 0, so goes there, let this person go there, this person comes here, go, there you go, net force is 0. So have a play around with this. Yeah, it's not showing there. Okay, so let's go back a little. Oh, no, I don't want to go there. I want to still stay here. Here's the one on acceleration. Okay, now again, you can get lots of values. You can actually do lots of Newton's second law problems in here. So let's say the applied force. This person here is applying some force. I can increase the force. You can put the mass. So Newton's second law says F net equals ma. You know the net force here is 10 newtons. You can change the mass. You can change these variables, and if you do a acceleration is f net over mass, should come to oops. And where's the go button? Here you go. No, I'm missing something. Where is the go? There you go. All right. So if you apply some force to it, it's interesting. Values, mass, acceleration. Oh, there we go. So basically what you're trying to do is this. So if this person is now pushing, the sum of the forces, as you can see, is 49 newtons to the right. The mass is 50 kilograms. And on the top, you can actually see what the acceleration was. Now you've left it and it slows down. You can easily teach Newton's first law based on this. All right. Every object keeps doing what it's doing. I'll just do one more and then nothing will stop. If you're the other good thing is you can actually do a search. Let's say you are teaching about, there's a search button here. Let's say I'm teaching say waves, spring, waves, interference. Now if you do a search, this will come up with lots of different results. If you look at these ones here that have HTML, if you I would say try to use the HTML version. What that means is if I click on this, I can start this particular simulator straight away on my website on the internet. If it's not HTML, like for example bending light, see it's got two versions, HTML and then there's none. What it means is you will have to install, it takes a small amount of data to install first and then you can run it. So no big deal, but it just takes one extra step. So I'm quickly going to show you waves in a string. If you're teaching about waves, you can there. Now, if this quick easily shows you about interference, it shows you about the superposition of waves. Now, either I can do that. Now, if you look on this side here, there's your fixed end. I'll leave it as fixed end. I can make it a loose end. There you go. If I can just on here, I can just send a pulse rather than manually putting it up and down. I can just go restart. I can send a pulse there. And I can send a pulse. Pulse is from here. Now, those of your physics teachers, you know that when a pulse goes and hits a fixed end, it reflects completely out of phase. I can actually make this amplitude bigger to see the effect much better. So there you go. There you go. And you can see when it hits the fixed end, it reflects out of phase there. If I remove the damping, it's much better. Now, there you go. Damping means obviously there's no friction, there's no loss of energy, just will continually do this. Now, if you have trouble, you can even slow it down. There, you can see it's going to reflect upside down, which is out of phase. Now, what if I have a loose end? Now, again, as you know, if it's a pulse going and striking a loose end, it reflects in phase, same way back. So let's have a look. right? Now, what if you have another pulse? So while the other one's going to reflect, I send, let me just wait. Maybe I'll do a fixed end. Now I'm going to, there you go. I have now two pulses meet, there you go. So when two pulses that arrive in phase, you have constructive interference and the two waves add on to each other. So same thing there. And when they arrive out of phase, now watch here, out of phase, they cancel, they move on. In phase, the amplitudes add up. So again, there's so many of these. This is my favorite one. As I said, not because favorite for any reason other than my experience. I've just used this a lot more. And as I said, I actually set a task 2 days ago for my students to do an experiment using this simulator in their logbooks. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to show you based on this. Guys, any of this simulator here, if you look here for teachers around the world who have used this particular simulator, they have actually written tasks. So the other day when I set the task for forces, I just went down here. Now there's a person here, I don't know who this person is, but somewhere in the world, Trish has set up an exercise here, an inquiry-based learning. So I went to one of those. Yep, this person, maybe this one here, waves on a string, it's an inquiry-based. Click on this. There is a Word document. These are Word documents of instructions that you can give straight away to the kids. So there's a pre-lab questions on a wave string. Let me, if I click on this, this is my school email address. You can put your own address and it will open up and you can actually see. Let's see. Just to show you what I'm talking about. Skip one. Okay, so something that they're doing some sort of a maintenance right now. So you can actually get your Word document with proper instructions for this particular experiment there as well. I think that is it from me. There you have there's literally hundreds and hundreds of these experiments that you can try out with your students. These are the simulators and these are your experiments that teachers have written for this particular task. Now, some of them are obviously quite advanced. You probably don't do Fourier analysis in your high school, so don't worry about that. Yeah, so the other thing I was going to show you is the PHET, P-H-E-T. This PHET simulators, you basically can get in chemistry. There's chemistry ones as well. As I said, try to use the chemistry ones over here. There's general chemistry. There's a black body radiation, acid-base solutions, balancing chemical equations. The kids will love having very fun way to teach chemical equations. B.L. Lambert's law, I'm not sure if you teach that. Build a molecule. This is a fun one again. If you're teaching atoms for the first time, it brings up, let's say, sodium. Then the students have to work out how many electrons, protons, neutrons to put in this particular one there as well. So you build a molecule, build atoms here, molecule is there. Yeah, so this is another good one. Guys, as I said, started off with Manasa telling us about the challenges. We know these are not easy times. These are difficult times all around in Fiji and around the world as well. I think we owe it, the way I see it, we owe it to our students. At least let us give them hope. Let us give them some fun things to do. Some of our students are probably going through a lot of difficulty. Young kids with much less life experience than us, probably going through a very tough time. If we can add a bit of fun, element of fun in their life and make a little difference to them, I think we would have done a huge credit to, for them. And I'm sure you are all, those of you who are attending these webinars, you are trying to make the difference. That's why you are here to learn. I can only encourage you to ask your colleagues to join up, learn some of these things. All we're trying to do is to help you so that you can help your students and make a difference. You can still teach science. You can still teach very solid science, even with us being at home when we can't do experiments. There are so many experiments that we can do virtually. Yes, there are issues with the internet. Yes, there are issues with the data. Yes, there's issues. Students don't have laptops and whatever. We know the problems. But where we can make the difference, let us make that difference. We can't change the whole world. We can't change the infrastructure of the internet in Fiji, but where students have the facilities, where we teachers have the facilities, let's make the difference. And we can still teach good, solid, proper science despite all the challenges that's out there. I think and I do apologize, we've gone quite long tonight. It's nearly 10 o'clock your time. We will leave the Zoom room open. If people want to stay back and have a chat with us, I've got a team who's also there help answer any questions that I can't answer. As I said last time, I'm not an expert in all this. I don't know every single simulator that's out there. You guys can all now get involved. We have done the hard work putting all the simulators in one spot on our website. You don't have to go looking for it. All you got to do is just come in, log in to My Teachers Fiji, go to your subject page, look at the simulator, and it's all there for you. We've made it very easy. What we can't do is to go through every single simulation. It's just impossible. And this is where we can share ideas. If you find a particular simulator that works, put a little comment there somewhere on our website or where there's a chat feature there. So someone else can see, oh, yep, there's a static balloons and static electricity is a good one to play with. Most of the simulators that I've showed you comes with the help feature. There's a description. Look for a help feature and try to have a play with it. Have a go. One little secret I'll tell you: if you come across a simulator, for example, I don't know, let's say say diffusion. If you're learning about diffusion, and I think in biology you talk about osmosis and diffusion. If you're not sure, let your students have a play with it. They will most of the time be able to work things out much faster than we would. And let them have a play and you learn from them. In fact, I do a lot, give it to the students, let them have a play. I just figure out from what they have done. And then we just simply set up a task for them to do. Now, could I please ask that you do fill the form, the attendance form, so that we know who's there. And again, thank you, Manasa. If there's anyone here who would like to ask Manasa a question, or anyone for that matter. I have finished with the presentation now, so if anyone wants to ask a question. Are you still there, Manasa? I actually can't see the the sharing page right now.
I'm still here, sir.
Oh, you're still there? Okay. Do you think you can, I know you've answered this question before, but is there something particularly that you can see yourself using?
Sir, after this webinar, I think this is going to help me a lot in my labs.
Okay. No, that's good. Thank you for the presentation earlier on as well. That was really, really good, Manasa. Thank you for that. Next week, I think we are presenting a webinar for the early childhood teachers. Of course, anyone can join us. It is about the use of phonics. So yeah, that's going to happen next week. Thank you, everyone. If there's no other questions, you happy to leave? Oh, can I just ask, as I always do, if you could leave some comments on our Facebook group, that will be good. The reason I keep asking you to put feedback on the Facebook group is just to encourage other teachers to come and join part of this. It's free, we don't charge you. The only charge for us is if you just go and put some comments in the Facebook group so that people can see what you are learning and encourage them to come and learn and in turn help their students. Thanks, Ronil. I can see you. Thank you. Yeah, if you could please do two things. One is do the attendance form for tonight. And the other thing is if you could leave some feedback on the Facebook group, just to encourage other teachers who are not members to come and be part of this webinar. And if you know, please, now that you have learned some of these things, do go and share this, don't keep it with yourself. Go and share this so that they can also come and, use it with their students. I think I am done. Thank you for coming. And we shall meet next week. As I said, it's about early childhood. If there's anyone who wants to stay and ask some question, I'm just going to be here for another couple more minutes. Have I used Beyond Labs? No, I haven't. Rahul, do you want to turn your microphone on? Let's have a chat.
Hello, sir.
Hi, where are you from, Rahul?
I'm Rahul from Lotoka. I'm currently at Lotoka Muslim College.
Right.
Beyond Labs is a tool that I know is being used at university levels.
Right.
And I know they do lab simulations through that. So I was wondering if you've had any experience or anyone has any experience using that, and whether we can have that used in our own teaching and learning.
Oh no, I have no idea about Beyond Labs, but look, I'm learning something from you. I'm definitely going to go and have a look at it myself, and if it's something that we can use, I will use it. Thanks, mate, for sharing. How's Lautoka? You guys are in teaching from home. Obviously, everyone's teaching from home.
Yes, we are teaching from home. We do go to physically go to work a couple of days a week, but most teaching and learning is done from home.
So you still have to go to school, like physically go to school?
Yeah, just for the collation of worksheets and all of that.
Right. Okay. No, good part. That's where I come from, Lautoka. Good part of Fiji. Best part of Fiji.
Agreed.
All right. I think, is there, Rajiv, are there a lot of people in the room? Okay. If there's anyone else who wants to ask anything, otherwise we'll close it up.
Sir, I want to ask something.
Yes.
It's not about tonight's webinar. It was the previous webinar. That's the Zoom. During the Zoom webinar, I was not able to do my attendance that night.
Right.
Yeah, so
If you could send us an email, are
yeah.
you able to send us an email?
Yeah.
Bula at myteachersfiji.com. If you send us your email, we will sort it out.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
And thank you for your time. It was really helpful.
What do you teach, Mrs. Saki?
Basic science, chemistry, and biology.
Biology.
Chemistry and basic science.
All right. What was there something that you can see yourself using from?
Yes, pretty much, because I just finished my class today with my 11 chemistry and 12 biology, and I was thinking of doing the actual lab in school.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't wait for this session because I know that I learn many things and I can be able to practice it with them next week.
Nice, very nice. No,
Yes.
very good, very good.
So right now I will not be doing that to school and do all those things. I will just practice out all this. I will think that just tonight.
That's amazing. That's good. Now, as I said, play around with some of those things that I have showed you today. I mean, as I said, I don't know about every one of them, but I'm sure you will. It's not that hard. Just have a play around with it. Look at the instructions, follow them, things there, and just if you're having a Zoom session, just do what I just did with your students, and they can see it there as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anushka.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is on the last part of your presentation, whereby you had shown us the link where the address has got HTML and the other address is just a normal.
Yep.
Actually, I was lost in that part. Does that portion gives the teachers sample questions, or is that another part of virtual experiment?
No. So if it's a HTML, you know how like when I showed you the FET simulation on the forces and the waves, that's all HTML. So basically that just runs on your internet, on your browser. So if you're using Google Chrome, it just runs on Google Chrome, right? If it's not HTML, and if you click on it, what's going to happen? It'll ask you, do you want to download this? And if you say yes, it will just simply come and download it. And once it's downloaded, just double click on it and it will play as if it was whatever, as if it was being played on the internet, on your browser, I mean. So have a play around with the HTML one first. HTML ones, they're just easier. Just click the button and it just plays straight away without having to download it. But you will find the same set of instructions, and some of these experiments, remember it's an open source. So teachers all around the world have been writing documents and they've been uploading. So you might find that, not all the worksheets that teachers have made are going to be relevant for you. Maybe, 20% of one document and 10% of it. So you can actually download a couple of those and make your own. So don't just rely on just one particular teacher's work. That's where I think we will have to use our own professional judgment, what's good for your students and what's relevant for your curriculum. What do you teach, Anushka?
Maths and physics, sir.
Physics. What year level physics do you teach?
Year 12.
Nice. I'm planning maybe in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, just to have a webinar just for the physics teachers.
That would be
You
great,
know,
sir. Yeah.
it's how to teach Newton's laws. This is actually a lot of misconception about how forces are taught and how forces are learned, and what does the research say how to teach Newton's laws. So that's coming up in maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks' time.
Okay, it would be great, sir. The second question is, sir, does this virtual experiments just shows the experiment part, or does it have some discussion questions?
You mean on the worksheets that teachers have made?
No, no, no. I mean to say, I understand that these links will provide us with the experimental part. But my question is, does this link also provide some additional questions related to that particular experiment?
There are so many different links I showed you, and each of those links, each of those places will have different types of information. Some of them might have some discussion questions as part of the simulator. Like, for example, the heart one that I showed you, it had a built-in question, so that can be part of a discussion. Whereas, remember the one I showed you with the cells, the galvanic cell, that was just a simulator. You have to come up with your own questions for those. I think the way I use it is, once you find a simulator, make up your own questions and give it to the students. That way, remember I said while I was presenting, have a direction, give a direction to your students. Don't just let them go loose. I generally tend to let them go loose for the first 5 minutes, because that's when they really are curious. They want to play around with it, do this, do that. Let them play with it, because they're not going to break anything. Once they have settled down, so let them to stop, and then get them together, bring them in, and then do what you want to get out of that particular. So what's your objective? What's your lesson outcome you want to get out of it?
All right.
So,
Thank you, sir.
okay. Is there anyone else? No? All right. I think we can close. If there's any other question, just email us. We'll try to address those. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Manasa, again.